Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Group. I'm your host, as always, Ryan, and today we are going to be taking a look at the upcoming special edition of AEW Dynamite tonight. It is going to be Title Tuesday, as it's called. AEW do run a Title Tuesday every October. They have done since 2022, I think the first one was. I like the idea, but I feel like with Title Tuesday, we should really have more than two titles on the line. But I don't think that really matters what the quote unquote episode of Dynamite is. It's still an episode of Dynamite. It's still a special. We get at least two title matches to look forward to. It's 2.5, so 2.5 hours worth of action. And it's a stacked card. And then we go back to back with Collision Homecoming tomorrow night. So I'll be doing my predictions video for that and dropping that tomorrow. Only just in case anything happens tonight which changes anything for tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is going to run through the 7 matches I think that we have planned for tonight and give you my predictions on each of them. And as always, feel free to let me know your predictions in the comment section below. It'd be fun to match them up at the end and see which one of us got more right than the other. Obviously we've got Wrestle Dream coming up in 2 weeks' time. Only 4 matches announced so far, so maybe a couple more matches get dropped tonight. So we'll start with Jurassic Express are returning to the ring together. They are having a match for the first time in 3 years. So that is obviously Jack Perry and Luchasaurus are back together as a team again. If you haven't already, please go and check out my top 5 Jurassic Express AEW matches. That video dropped last week. Go and check that out after this one and let me know your thoughts. So, like I say, we have Jack Perry and Luchasaurus are back in ring action against a to-be-announced team. I'd expect this to be 2 jobbers or 2 local talents. I don't expect it to be like a proper team. Don't expect it to be like, say, an FTR or someone like that. I just expect it to be probably a pair of jobbers. Maybe someone from Ring of Honor or even local talent that we don't actually even know. I think obviously that's going to be there because they want Jurassic Express to pick up the victory, and eventually I think maybe at Wrestle Dream you can see obviously Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks once again. They've had a really big history. Back in 2021, 22, and then obviously more recently with Jack Perry being, effectively kicked out of the Elite. So I'm going to go with Jurassic Express, pick up the victory, probably quite an easy victory against a no-mark team. So we move on from that and we go to next. We have Jon Moxley versus Tomohiro Ishii in a singles match. That is obviously, we've seen this match before. It's a rematch from previous. Just expect it to be basically a strong style, very brutal match. It's just a normal singles match. There's no DQ or anything like that. But they are both like Smash Mouth style, aren't they? With the elbows and the fists and the headbutts and the biting and stuff like that. So I expect it to be pretty much a war. To be fair, Tomohiro Ishii is one of my favorite wrestlers from New Japan. Love Ishii. And then obviously Jon Moxley is my favorite wrestler currently in the world right now. So I'm excited to see this. But I would expect Jon Moxley to pick up the win. Obviously, he's going into the match at Wrestle Dream next weekend against Darby Allin in an I Quit match. So I'd be very surprised if Jon Moxley didn't pick up the victory here. So I'm putting Jon Moxley down for a win, but I expect this to be potentially match of the night. I think this or one of the title matches is going to end up being match of the night. But it'll probably open the show, to be fair. Jon Moxley's been opening the show a lot, hasn't he, since dropping the AEW World Championship. He seems to wrestle every week, and he opens the card, even doing Dynamite and Collision like last week. So up next, we will look at Brodito of Brody King and Bandito versus the Don Callis family, which is Kenosuke Takeshita and Kazuchika Okada. It's a double Jeopardy eliminator match, so if Brodito win, whoever gets the win will earn a future AEW Continental Championship match. If Takeshita and Okada win, they will earn a future AEW World Tag Team Championship match. So there's a lot on the line, a lot at stake. So this isn't technically a title match. No titles are going to change hand. But whoever picks up the victory is basically gaining a title match, probably at WrestleDream. And to be honest with you, I like Brody though. I think they're doing really well as a tag team right now. But the potential to see Kenosuke Takeshita and Kazuchika Okada tag team together is really exciting me. And eventually I think that we're going to get, they've teased it for a little bit now, we're going to get Takeshita versus Okada at some point. So I think that Takeshita and Okada pick up the victory against the Don Callis family. And then I think they're going to get a tag team title match at WrestleDream next weekend. And by that time, I expect Kenosuke Takeshita could in fact be the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, because obviously King of Pro Wrestling, that is Cowboy, is on Monday next week. So potentially Kazuchika Okada, I'm used to get Okada being the IWGP champ. Kenosuke Takeshita could in fact be the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion going into WrestleDream. But I'm going to say that Takeshita and Okada pick up the victory. I feel like they're going to get the tag team title match at WrestleDream, not win, and that's going to cause obviously the issues that starts, which will lead to Okada versus Takeshita at the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom, which could potentially be probably New Japan's biggest match since Okada and Danielson. So I'm going to go with Takeshita and Okada to pick up the victory. So next we shall move on to Orange Cassidy versus Pac in another singles match. These two have faced before, both really good in the ring. Pac is phenomenal. He's so aggressive. He's so powerful. He's fast paced. He's quick. Does some great moves. He's fantastic to watch live. If you've ever seen him live, you'll know. I've watched him live twice now. He's superb. One of my favourite matches I've seen live was Pac versus Penta at TNT in Liverpool. And, he's a really, really good wrestler. Very, very underrated by a lot of people, to be fair. And talking of underrated, you can't say underrated without mentioning Orange Cassidy. He's consistently good in the ring. You'd either love him or you don't. You'd either like the gimmick or you don't like the gimmick. And if you don't like the gimmick, then you're not going to enjoy his wrestling, which I think is a shame, because I think he's one of the most consistent wrestlers in the world. You just look at his international championship reigns. He had absolute banger after banger. There was no one putting consistent matches weekly. Like, he was doing weekly, back-to-back bangers. No one else was doing that in the world when he was doing it. No one in New Japan. Not Will Ospreay, not Kenny Omega, no one in WWE, not Roman Reigns, not Seth Rollins. No one in the world are doing back-to-back, week on week, bangers like Orange Cassidy was. I think this is going to be a great match. A bit surprised that we've got it so quick, because Orange Cassidy has a one win, one loss record since returning. Obviously, Pac, this will be his returning match. So this could see either one of them getting a loss, which would shock me unless they do like shenanigans of that and then leads to WrestleDream, but I can't imagine that. So I think Pac's going to pick up the victory as it's his return match, and there's like a rebirth, if you like. He's cut his hair. He started actually wearing clothes. Normally when you see back, even in the backstage segments and that, he's normally just in his trunks. You've seen him now in the t-shirts and the pants and that. I feel like it's going to be a rebirth of Pac in AEW. You know, he's been out for what, 6-7 months now. So I think Pac picks up the victory and starts to make waves once again in AEW. Next, we shall move on to the Hurt Syndicate, which is Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP versus The Demand, which is Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leone. This is a rematch from the last pay-per-view. Obviously, The Demand picked up the victory in that one. This is a street fight, though. This isn't a wrestling match. MVP says he feels he let his side down. Obviously, when they faced previously, you know, he was the one that got pinned. You know, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, like freak athletes. They're so good. Even like I think they're pretty much 50 now or thereabouts, and they're still, you know, absolute ridiculous athletes, you know, in the ring. Obviously MVP is not. He still goes, not great. I mean, it's mad to think MVP is actually the youngest of the three, but you know, he can still go. And obviously, you know, Ricochet's not long teamed with the Gates of Agony, and they needed to pick up a victory to start putting them on the right path. There's no point in putting a team together if all they do is lose. But I feel like the Hurt Syndicate are going to get the victory here, because I feel like this feud finishes at Wrestle Dream. I think we're going to get one each, maybe ending in a steel cage or something. As we've had the wrestling match, then this is going to be a street fight. So I think it's going to go 1-1. We could even see MVP pick up the pin. You know what I mean? It's a street fight. Anything happens, anything goes. You know, he can use his little pimp cane that he comes out with, or they could use, you know, chairs or ladders, steps, whatever. I mean, we've seen all sorts used in the AEW ring. So it'd be interesting to see how they do it. But I think MVP picks up the victory. I think he pins one of the others to pick up the victory for his team, and then we go into Wrestle Dream with the third match, the rubber match. That's where I think this is going. It'd be a bit mad if they just did a rematch and then the Demand won again. It just should be like, right, okay, what are we even doing here? So that's what I'm going with. Hurt Syndicate for the win. Now we will look at one of the most talked about matches going into this weekend. It is Mercedes Moné, and she has issued an open challenge for her TBS championship. You know, she's held that belt for a good while now. In fact, I think, if I remember right, she's literally closing in now on Jade Cargill's reign. She might have even passed it. I don't think she has yet. I think she's just gone 500 days, or maybe that's tonight. And I think Jade Cargill was 508. So she's held it since May of last year. And she's issued an open challenge. So the open challenge is, you know, it's explicitly being marketed to AEW, or, you know, making it a big deal. They're making it a thing for people to want to tune in and to see. You know, obviously the speculation online that it's going to be a former WWE superstar. Do you think they're going to answer the call? You know, obviously NXT have got their little program with TNA on tonight. If you haven't seen the predictions video yet, Matt did the predictions for that, because I won't be watching that. I'll be watching this. He watches that, so he's done his predictions on that. So it's a good possibility that AEW want to use someone that used to wrestle in WWE as sort of like a shock factor, if you like, to maybe get people to tune into theirs instead. I doubt it, because AEW don't pull silly tactics like that. I mean, I do think it's going to be a former WWE superstar, but I don't feel like that's the reason why they're going to do it. Because they don't tend to do silly tactics like counter programming. Mercedes has teased, though, that it will be someone from Florida. That could be someone born in Florida. It could be someone who lives in Florida. You know, the door is open there. So it got me thinking and looking into a few things. So I think it's going to be someone from Florida that lives there now. I feel like that's the way they're going to go. So I've got 3 options here that I think it may be. They're all 3 former WWE wrestlers and they're all living in Florida. So number 1, the potential is Shotzi Blackheart. You know, after Mercedes posted online, any local from Florida want to wrestle me next week. Shotzi responded with eyes wide open emoji. And obviously, like I say, she is from Florida. She's residing in Florida at the moment. Obviously, she's currently a free agent. She does work for the likes of GCW, but obviously she doesn't have an exclusive contract with them. Up next is Dakota Kai. Again, she was released by WWE earlier in the year. She's also a free agent and lives in Florida. And the third one, and the least likely of the 3, I'd say, is Shayna Baszler. She was fantastic for me in NXT. Her non-compete clause has now expired. She, like the others, currently resides in Florida and is also a free agent. Although the reason why I say she's less likely is because she has actually been involved with producing in NXT after her release as a talent from the company. For me, I think if I'm looking at them 3, I'm going to say Shotzi answers the call. But whichever it is, I can't see Mercedes dropping the title. 1, until after she's already gone past, for definite, Jade Cargill's record with the title. And 2, I can't see her dropping it on a Dynamite. For me, Mercedes drops it at a pay-per-view. So Mercedes will get the victory. I think it's going to be Shotzi, but we shall see. And then last, I probably would say this is going to more than likely be the main event of the show. Kyle Fletcher versus Kyle O'Reilly 2. We've seen them face off on an episode of Collision, I think it was last time. You know, we had the Let's Go Kyle, Kyle Forever, you know, the Kyle chants because they're both called Kyle. It was a lot of fun. A really good match. Kyle O'Reilly for me is, I'd say, underrated in terms of, you know, he never really gets given the ball as a single star. You know, obviously when he holds titles, mostly tends to be tag team. I think he's been Ring of Honor world champion once. He was never given the NXT championship, and it hasn't held any gold at all in AEW, to be fair, not even the tag. But he's consistently good in the ring. You know, I don't remember a bad Kyle O'Reilly match. It might just be me, but I don't. And then you got Kyle Fletcher, who's been on the absolute run of his career since his feud with Will Ospreay last year. He's had a fantastic run. He's been great as the TNT champion. Obviously, he faced Hangman Page at the last pay-per-view for the AEW World Championship and didn't look out of place at all. I think it's going to be a really good match. You know, I expect it to be Kyle Fletcher, though, retaining the title. I feel like he's going to have that for a little bit longer. And I feel like when he does drop it, there'll be more of a story involved than basically it's Title Tuesday, so we'll give you the title match against someone, you know what I mean? I feel like there's going to be a background and a story to it. Sort of like after Dustin won the TNT championship and then it went from Dustin to Kyle. They did the whole build with that, didn't they? So I feel like that's where they'll go when Kyle Fletcher does eventually drop the TNT titles. There you go. That is my predictions. 7 matches on tonight, and then we have Collision tomorrow. So I'll drop my predictions video for that tomorrow. If you are watching King of Pro Wrestling next Monday, that is obviously a New Japan show. I will drop a predictions video for that as well over this weekend. So stay tuned. A lot of wrestling coming up over the next week or 2, and a lot of predictions. So bear with me. Thanks as always for listening. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the wrestling group. You know, we are slowly growing, but we are getting there. And obviously, if you haven't yet, please do subscribe and recommend us to a friend too. So that is all we have for today. If you are watching AEW Dynamite, then please do enjoy yourselves.